Hi, Angelique Clemens. Welcome back to the Can I Borrow Your Skin podcast. And we are in March, and this month we are talking about grief. Now, last week I talked about, grief being kind of a relief if, you become orphaned because I've lost both my parents, and how you can have both that anger that comes with grief as well as that relief where you don't feel like you have to live your life and live up to someone's expectations. After last week's episode, I actually saw someone's clip from, I believe they have a podcast as well, and they were talking about a C.S. Lewis quote, and I'm going to paraphrase here because I'm going to be honest, I didn't look it up, but it said, I sat with my anger long enough that it finally introduced itself as grief. And that is so poignant to what I'm talking about, with the fact that you can be angry in your grief, and that's okay. And that grief looks like so many different things. So today I'm going to talk about how grief can be somewhat overwhelming. And the great analogy that I have is, imagine you're walking along the shore and the waves are crashing in, and you have this overwhelming feeling, and then the waves come up and you're engulfed by the waves, and you have water's all around you and you're starting to drown. You panic, but then the waves go back out from the shore, and then you get that relief. You choke a little bit, you cough up water, and you're like and you start to get that calm, and you start to catch your bearings, and then crash, the waves come in again because the tide is coming in. And so as soon as you start to feel that relief, you're engulfed again, and it's more water, and you are drowning more, and it's coming in and it's coming in, and you are disoriented, and you try to walk yourself to safety. So you start to walk back to home, and the waves are too strong, and there's like this boom. And with this boom, the waves are crashing again, and you're coughing, and you're choking, and your breath is becoming short, and you're drowning at this point. You're exhausted. You can't get away from the tide coming in, and you're fighting, and you're trying your best. And that's grief. You have this overwhelming feeling that as soon as you get to a place where you are okay, the waves come in. And in my novel, Can I Borrow Your Skin, that is one of the topics that I cover the most, is the idea that grief is not ours to explain. It is ours to experience. And as much as you want to feel like you can explain your grief, today I'm well, yesterday was hard, but today I'm great. It's not something that you can explain. It's just there. That's how I want to explore this idea of, stripping down your identity and making you struggle to find yourself. That's what grief does. If you are a parent and you lose your child, you lose that connection with being a mother for some people. I know my parents struggled through the idea of losing a child and what that was for them, because they defined themselves as parents. And yes, they had other children. There was more of us around, but they lost that I was the parent of, and being the parent of meant this. And so in my novel, and with this exploration of grief, that person defines you, and sometimes grief defines you as well. And so struggling with grief and making it something you have to experience, and you can't necessarily define yourself by that. You often in your family have, that strong one, that one that everyone leans upon, everyone goes to for support. And therefore, as that strong one, you actually don't get that opportunity to grieve while everyone else is grieving, because you're holding them up. And I was the strong one in my family. I was, the person who helped plan this, who organized that, who did this, who stepped in there, who did this, who did that. And my main character, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't read the book yet or about to pick it up, going to listen to it, etc. My main character, Nicolette, was a strong one. And as she's going through the grief that she was experiencing in the book, it was different for her, because in the beginning, she was a strong one. She had to be stoic faced. She had to walk through everything. She had to be there for everyone else. And so when she finally got to the point where everyone else was good, the wave started coming in for her. And for some people, there was like, people put this expectation, this timeline on your grief. And there was like, well, that was X amount of time ago. You haven't learned to get through everyday life yet. You haven't learned to deal with that yet. And so then you feel guilty as the strong one, finally taking time to heal, even though every day the tide is coming in on you and you're getting hit with that grief. And because in the book, Nicolette was trying to be the dutiful daughter, the supportive sister, the tertiary parent, and for the nibbling she stepped in for, you have all these compounding things coming down on Nicolette as the strong one, and she had to learn to pick up her own grief, put it on the shelf, and only deal with it when it was convenient for everyone else around her. And she had to deal with the emotions that were being passed down upon her. She couldn't cry when her siblings were crying. She couldn't cry when her nibblings were crying. She couldn't cry when her piblings came to her, when her parents came to her. She was becoming an ixofaxo parent, whether she was ready for it or not. She was becoming, that person for everyone else in her life. People were coming to Nicolette to be her sibling, who her sibling was to everyone else, stepping into those roles for family and friends and to hold up as many people as possible. And so she had grief deferred. And that's what those waves are. And a lot of us defer our grief, even if we're not necessarily the strong one, even if there weren't a lot of people coming to us for certain things. When we're going through grief, we have grief deferred because we cannot yet rationalize, that someone is gone. And when you are deferring your grief, the waves still come. And so here we are talking about grief. For me, it was the early 2000s. I had lost so much. There was so much suffering. There was so much death. There was just so much going on around me. And I found myself in this situation where I just hit a wall. I crashed. I was working and I was dating and I thought I was in this stable place. And I thought, I'm good. But I had deferred my grief.